Well, happy gardening, friends! It is time to talk about what you can plant in June. And I know that sounds so crazy, especially if A, you're new to Arizona, or you're new to gardening in Arizona, or you're just really coming to terms with the fact that this is the last of the 90-degree days that we're going to have until September. But there is still stuff that we can plant in September, and I hope that encourages you to hang in there. So we're going to chat about what you can plant this month in June, and then we're also going to take a tour, just a little one, not where we look at every single plant. We're going to take a little tour of the garden, and in the midst of all that, I'm also going to share with you 4 tips to kind of lift up your spirits right now, because I'm talking to Leslie, I'm talking to plenty of other people right now who are, feeling the crunch of where we're at with our garden, because it's getting really hot. So there's some things like tomatoes that they're either to the end of producing, some of them you might be able to get to go on, but a lot of them are going to start struggling right now, and so that makes us feel like we're struggling as gardeners. So I really want to kind of lend you some tips to kind of keep you lifted up and focused on continuing to grow. So first off, let's start out with what you can grow. And I do want to let you know that if you're amazed by June's list, I want you to know that we can start planting even more as we go into July and August and September. So the gardening game never ends in Arizona. So right now you can continue to plant yard-long beans. You can plant black-eyed peas, Armenian cucumbers, melons, cantaloupe, honeydew, all the melons. You can do basil and sweet potatoes from transplant. You can do eggplant and peppers from transplant. You might even grow some from seed, because peppers really do a lot of their production work in the fall. Even though I'm getting some peppers on some plants, I'm baking on the fall. You can also plant jicama and okra and pumpkins. Some of the calendars say that you can even push the line a little bit and still plant some summer and winter squash and tomatillas. Oh, and some calendars also say you could do some watermelon. The flip side of planting in June or growing during the desert months is flowers. Now, we can always plant flowers, but I think for me, especially in the summer months, having flowers around when it feels like everything should be crispy and browned really lift up the whole garden. And so right now, as far as flowers, you can pronounce you can plant, and I said pronounce because in my mind I'm like, I'm not going to pronounce half of these correctly, but you can plant balsam, celios, coleus, cosmos, 4 o'clocks, globe amaranth, cochia, marigolds, periwinkle, portulaca, purslane, sunflowers, and my personal favorite, zinnias, because there's nothing like looking up on a hot day and seeing beautiful tall zinnias everywhere. Now, before we go check out the tour, I want to share with you my 4 tips for lifting your spirits right now. Because we've already talked about putting up shade cloth, watering more, keeping up with your fertilizer, all the things that you can try to keep your garden going with. But I also want to talk to you about how you can keep yourself going. So number 1, right now, right here, I want you to count your wins. Count all the wins from this summer and count all the wins from the spring and all the way back to the winter and fall. And wins don't always have to be harvest numbers. Like for me, even though I had excellent harvest with garlic, my biggest focus and my biggest win to me is that I grew all of these plants from seed, except for some plants that I got in trades, some of the older plants that I had. But that is a huge thing for me. That's the first time that I have put an intentional plan together and planted almost every single plant that's in my huge garden. So I've got lots of other wins, but more than anything, friends, I want you to focus on your wins right now. And then the second thing is, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. I know this might have been your first time and you did really awesome with this and everything else was meh, but I really don't want you to give up. I don't want you to give up because it's hot. I don't want you to give up because you don't have enough wins on your list. I want you to keep going. And kind of a third part of don't give up is focus and grow with what we can grow right now. So I just gave you a nice list. It may not be everything that you want to grow right now because you may be like me and you still want more tomatoes, but it's a good list of stuff that we can grow. You know, I've got one sweet potato plant growing, but knowing that sweet potatoes can keep going, I've got empty bags. We eat sweet potatoes. It's something you can store and put away, freeze it, preserve it. Why not grow more sweet potatoes? So go with what you can grow right now and let that be the thing that kind of buoys you on to the next growing season. If there's things like your tomato plants that are done and they're yellowing and they're this and they're that, pull them. Just let it go, friend. Let it go. Don't let that be the thing that keeps you from planting some sweet potatoes or planting a bunch of cantaloupes. Just go with what we can grow right now, okay? We're going to do what we call shotgun planting. We're about to shotgun plant melons all over the bells. All the bells. Because if we have a ton of melons, that's going to be another win. If we have some melons, it's going to be a win. If we plant it and execute it, that's a win, okay? So go with what you can grow. And number 4, I really want you, especially since you got to be spending a little bit more time inside like me, now is the time to think about your plan or to make your notes in your mental, online, in the Google Docs, written down, however you do it. But now's the time to be making notes about what you would do different, what you would plan different, how you would execute things differently, all the things that are in your brain right now. Because, you know, we've all been through those new things like maybe having a new baby or getting a new puppy, and you're like, woohoo, let's do it. Or planting a new garden, woohoo, let's do it. But then, whether it's the puppy or the baby, you forget, or the garden, you forget all the things that make those different joys challenging and difficult. So it's really easy for you to just do it again. But if we can take time right now while we have garden brain for this summer still going on, then we can make some notes, we can put together some plans so that instead of this time, or instead of next year, we start to plant that beautiful new garden, we'll be like, wait, I gotta go look at my reality checkbook. I gotta go look at all those things that I wanted myself to know and remember so that I'd have better success this year. So those are my 4 tips. Now let's go check out, Now let's go check out what's growing on in my garden. And it's not going to be a super detailed tour, but I do just want to give you a glimpse. So let's go. Time for a little tour as we talk about what we can plant this month in June. So my straw bale is having issues. I figured out I was having such a hard time getting things to grow in it. And if you're working in a straw bale and that's happening to you, I encourage you to go down and smush your bale, because too many air pockets can prevent your roots from attaching to something and growing. So I got this patch of melons and peppers going here, but the bale needs a lot of love. So we're gonna throw a bunch of seeds on here. Temporary spot for our friend over here. Everything else over here is just kind of going into the June wind down. Still got plenty of little tomatoes coming in. We got some big tomatoes still coming in. About to get our irrigation, so everything's looking lovely. You can see that I've got some things covered up over there on the other side of the garden. I'm about to run some shade right here to give this area some respite. I'm using some umbrellas this year. I think I'm gonna run something from this trellis to this ladder too, because at the right time the ladder does a lot, but it's just kind of like right in the middle of the day that it's a little rough in here. Over here I've got a bunch of squashes, and I think that's a market more. I just picked all my squashes. I had delicatas and butternut spaghetti delicata patty pan. We roasted a lot of those up last night, but we got those picked so that the plants have can focus on themselves instead of focusing on trying to ripen those veggies anymore. Then I've got a long run going here. I'm probably gonna stake this up and give me another little space here. These are all my potato plants right here, and so everything is looking great, and I'm about to get my irrigation. Don't have any melons coming in over here, but I do have a beet alpha. That's one thing that I didn't pick that I need to pick. Let's just twist that off right here while we're there. So that's about how big those can get. They can maybe get a little bit longer. So hopefully this one isn't bitter. And then lastly, I'm going to show you my asparagus bed because it is the sweetest. And I just want to show you these cute little, so these is my asparagus, you know. Where's a good one? Well, like here is one before it started to branch out like that. But this is the first year of growing my asparagus. So I'm just gonna let it keep growing and let it get real thick, bushy roots. This is that crazy spoon tomato. I should probably do something to prop it up, but it's just kind of keeping the asparagus friends. And I got some lettuces over there going to flower, which is okay. Oh, yep, the water's really starting to run now. I was wondering why. Something I felt was kind of wet behind me. And then over here in this bed, I've just got one squash and this ground cherry, and then pretty sure I'm gonna plant some corn in here. So this is a look at what's going on in my garden as we go into the month of June. And I hope your gardens are ready for June too. I hope that you will take my advice to heart, and please don't give up, and please hang in there, and please keep growing with me. Have the best day ever, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.